What's going on, homie? Welcome back to episode 7 of the Vegan Strong podcast, strongest podcast on the planet. I'm Coach Zach and I'll be your host. Today, I'm joined by a fellow vegan fitness trainer and frankly, one of the best clients I've ever had, David O.G. David is a queer vegan fitness coach from Northern Arizona with a mission to help others live their OG lives. They believe the path to success is by knowing you're worthy of it right now, in this moment, and that by teaching you to incorporate healthy self-care routines daily, they can help you love your OG life too. For those of you that are ready to transform your mind and body and start living with self-love as an integral part of your day-to-day, this podcast is going to be powerful. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Vegan Strong podcast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Coach David O.G., actually one of my clients and an excellent coach. He's a vegan, serving the vegan community, serving the non-binary and LGBTQ plus community, and training, getting your gains in the right place. And I've been working with David for a while now, a few months actually, I think since April. And when I got the podcast back on the road, I wanted to chat with them, and they're one of the first people that came to mind for this podcast. And so without further ado, I want to let David introduce themselves, and we'll jump into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. You rock. Certainly going to introduce myself, but I do just really quick have to say how much I appreciate your invitation to speak on your podcast. It's truly an honor. So just a quick story too for your listeners about when I started working with you.
Sure.
I actually had my eye on 3 other trainers like a few weeks prior to contacting you. And so I wasn't very certain on any of these trainers, but I remember like just being a day where I was like, you know what, today's the day. Like I need to make a decision today on one of these 3 trainers. Like I'm going to set up a consultation with all of them, and we got to get this ball rolling. And literally like that day, as I make up my mind on that decision, your Insta pops up. And after looking at just some of the videos, checking out your YouTube and all that stuff, like no joke, I pretty much immediately signed up for my consultation, forgot the other people that I was looking at. And here we are now. So thank you, Zach, again, for just, providing that safe space and always being a kick-ass coach. But enough about you, as my friend would say. We're on me now. So my name is David Oseguera Getz. And so, yes, that is 2 last names. I do not have a middle name. For those who are maybe confused by that, I am the head coach and owner for the Their O.G LLC, which is my coaching company. And I, like Zach said, I do like to focus primarily on helping, queer vegans, but I do help, people and vegans in general, eat healthier, exercise, and really ultimately live their OG lives, which essentially just means living your best life, but with some of the techniques and tools that I teach you, which I think we might touch on a bit more later. But I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. There's like a 15-year age gap between my siblings and I. So, I practically grew up with 5 parents. I live in Northern Arizona. And so, we get all 4 seasons here. We get snow, where it's not just desert and cactus. And I love nature. I love the outdoors. I love hiking, running, dancing, making delicious vegan foods. What more, what more can I say?
What more could you need? Love it. Cool. That's awesome. And I appreciate the shout out. And thanks for that in-depth intro.
For sure.
And of course, at the end, I will give everybody your handles, and y'all should go check David out, because they do really talk about some pretty powerful stuff. And so, without further ado, I want to know a little bit about your vegan journey. Like I said, I always start this out with the concept of talking about veganism, being that this is kind of the focus of this podcast in a way. So tell us a little bit about you. I mean, I know that you have been vegan. Well, I'm not going to give you any more introduction. I just want you to take it away and tell us a little bit about kind of why you got into veganism and kind of what that journey's been like, since you jumped in.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been just over 4 years since we went vegan. It was a culmination of things that really led up to both my husband and I going vegan. Health was the primary reason. And so on my husband's side, it was due to his Crohn's disease. And so for those who don't know, it's an inflammatory bowel disease that can cause lots of abdominal pain, diarrhea, just a lot of upset stomach and other symptoms, right? And so he's actually even had sections of his intestines removed, as a result of this disease. And so, so for him, he's always looked for what foods make him feel better, And so when we were together, that's what I was looking for diets to lose weight. He was looking for what would make him feel good, And so it was about 3 years of us being together before we ended up making the switch. Now, again, so for him, it was his health. For me, weight loss was a big factor. And health actually did come into that more so just because, so right before going vegan, we were doing keto. And so with keto, I didn't do much research, but I knew that I could eat all the bacon, the cheese, and all the fat that I wanted, basically. And at that point, like before going vegan, like, heck yeah, why not, right? I was like all for it. And so the results were not, I lost weight, and I actually hate admitting that I lost weight on keto. I was like, yeah, I lost like 20 pounds. Like, okay, cool. But on the downside is my cholesterol went up. And so I had already had issues with cholesterol, kind of, flirting with that high cholesterol a little bit. And so when I did keto, it went over the recommended max. So, 200 to 220, I think is where they, the max level is where they want you to be. I was just above that. And so my doctor was like, hey, your family has cholesterol problems.
Right.
You're having this problem. Like, do you want to be on pills like the rest of your family? Like, is that what you want? Because like, we'll sign you up now, for life. Let's go.
Wow.
I was like, no, let me figure some stuff out, And it was 2017. There was a lot of buzz around a documentary on Netflix called What the Health. And so that kind of kicked things off for veganism. We looked into it. And that's what convinced us. I don't remember many of the facts that I got from there, but I just remember feeling like, I had been lied to, my whole life about what veganism was, about protein deficiencies, about diseases, about sicknesses, all of it, and like, I could have been eating this way my entire life, and this is just one big lie, right? And so, yeah, that's what made us decide to go vegan. And took a couple weeks. We, started looking at some recipes, got a few recipe books, and then within 2 weeks, whatever food was remaining that wasn't vegan, I went and handed out to a friend who happened to be in need at that time. And yeah, that's the rest is history. 4 years vegan now, and went from being just mainly about health to now about the animals, about the environment, about just everything else. You know?
Yeah. And if you could give anybody kind of like tips that has allowed you to remain vegan. I mean, I know you and Sean are cooking some really, really good stuff. I mean, just from working with you, obviously, that, when it comes to diet, you are very proficient at planning. You're very proficient at, batching and then, having these things prepared for yourself so that it's easy at this point, I would assume. What sorts of elements, if you could give beginners tips, if you could give people that are considering jumping into the vegan game tips, what kinds of, elements in your own journey have allowed you to stay so consistent?
Lots of free resources. Don't be afraid to just go online and just dig into all of the. Pinterest has tons of vegan recipes. You can go to the PETA website and find tons of resources there.
Right.
And for me, it was finding out what substitutions I needed to make first. Okay, so I'm eating meat and dairy. What is the easiest way to replace those? Okay, so there's frozen, processed vegan meats that you can substitute. And that's an easy way to get into it. Maybe not the healthiest way, let's say, when you're adding all these processed foods, but still.
Sure.
Start that way, just incorporate some of those meat alternatives, into your meals. Right. Add more vegetables. That's probably the easiest thing. And it doesn't have to, I think maybe one of the things that people worry about is that it has to look like it came from a restaurant.
Mm.
Like they're like, oh, I see all this amazing vegan food and this giant bowl with all like packed with all these nutrients, and like
Right.
mine just looks kind of average. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. Like it doesn't have to look perfect. Like just
Right.
eat the damn thing.
Right. Right.
Add all the
Yeah.
veggies you want, whatever veggies it is that you like. If you like
Right.
them cooked, if you don't like them cooked, whatever it is, throw them in there and just have at it.
Boom. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I mean, that like piggybacks off the fundamental piece of advice I always try to give anybody, right? Whether you're vegan or not, like if you're just trying to improve your nutrition, get better at, making your own food and whatever it is in that, that realm, 5 to 6 recipes, right? Find 5 to 6 recipes, get really good at those recipes. In doing so, not only will you be able to make those recipes without, looking at a piece of paper and, making sure that you're hitting every detail, it'll be easy for you, right? But you'll also be learning flavor combinations. You'll also be kind of like mastering these very basic cooking skills that will transfer, right? And you'll compound on this skill. But yeah, I like that. Like it's a lot simpler than people make it out to be, right? And
Yeah.
I do generally find that, especially at first, most people are not coming from, master chef tier, and like having to really quote unquote give up a lot of things, right? You're only giving things up because you don't know, right? Like your knowledge in cooking and nutrition is not at an optimal level. But as you build on these things and as you work on these things, you will be able to, really find flavors and really find just a new world of nutrition and diet in general that wasn't available to you before. And so while veganism might look like a restriction at first, ultimately, frankly, for me, it opened up the door to really getting into cooking food and really understanding flavor combinations. And for most of you, it will do that. So just some pieces of advice. But yeah, I appreciate that insight. I think that's always helpful is, in figuring out what is it that really allowed you to remain consistent and kind of move past the stage of like, oh man, I'm giving up all these things. So
yeah. And a lot of people, I think, focus on what they're giving up, and they think they're going to wind up with just a salad, with like iceberg lettuce, cherry tomatoes, and like, cucumber, and that's it, and
right,
that's
right.
And then, you know what, it's funny because I saw a post this morning on Twitter. This guy posted just that was his meal, was like just a plain salad, but not because he chose it. It was because his work brought in food, and that was the vegan option he had, was
right.
a side salad practically,
right.
and that's what I think people think is that, if I go vegan, I'm just going to eat salads, and that's just going to be boring salads and vegetables all the time. Like there's some great meat alternatives out there. I make seitan all the time, this. And
I know that. Yeah.
Seitan steak is the bomb, and if you can handle gluten, go for
Boom.
it.
Boom. Yeah. And actually that's a good insight, because I do think that a lot of times the hardest part, right, about going vegan is navigating the social environment that relies so heavily on, the exploitation of animals, right? We as humans live in a society that, most of us are well aware of, the kind of like what I consider to be like the white supremacist structures of, the economy and of government and all these things, of the legal system. But we brush past this idea of anthropocentrism, right? Like human dominance over everything, absolute non-human animal subjugation in every category of our lives. And when you experience like going to the workplace as a new vegan, right, and being like, oh nice, workplace lunch, something I'm used to and not used to thinking about, and then you're like, oh crap, like there's no options for me. That's where you really have to get creative. But I would say that it's those moments where the power of being a vegan and being like literally living in as an activist, whether you want to or not, are exposed, right?
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to bring your own food in and have conversations because people are going to ask you about it, right? Even if you don't, you then have the opportunity to have a conversation when somebody asks you, well, why aren't you touching the burgers, right? Why aren't you touching the pizza? And, it's up to you. Like, I get, from a lot of vegans, I hear like, oh man, I hate having those kinds of conversations, but I personally love having those kinds of conversations because, well, number one, I'm a giant asshole and I like to debate, but Also it gives you an opportunity to, have these conversations that, that open somebody's mind, right? You might experience resistance, right? You might experience like little jokes or excuses or whatever it is, but recognize that that's that person experiencing something that they've never experienced before.
Yeah.
Right. And that's them, being, encountering this, battering ram through their ideology that's just totally foreign. And so they're wrestling with that. And you're just the vehicle of them kind of expressing that. And so, if you can release from taking it personally and just notice that, you have planted a seed, right? Whether or not they really, were curious or they were respectful or whatever it is, you planted a seed with that person, and that's an opportunity. So that's just kind of a side note to vegans and potential, people, concerned about the social resistance that they're going to experience. You will experience it, right? But it gets easier, and just to kind of like present it as an opportunity rather than a struggle.
For sure.
There we go.
Love it.
So I want to ask you a little bit about like fitness, right? And being that you are the Fit O.G, being that you are doing the damn thing when it comes to your coaching business and serving your clients and all this stuff. There was an origin story of you, right? And you mentioned the keto thing and leveraging veganism for the benefits of the plant-based diet. But tell me a little bit about kind of like, when did you really first get into fitness, working out, whatever it was? Kind of what was that origin story of David?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely came up as an adult. I think you started maybe as a teen,
as a wee lad. Yeah,
as a wee little lad. Whereas for me, it came later in life, and it may have always been on the back of my mind, right? Something that I like to talk about, I guess, or like to bring up, is that with being the first U.S. born citizen, because all my parents, my siblings were all born in Mexico. That Mexican tradition, right? That hardcore Mexican tradition is in there. And I don't know if you know this, if you've heard this, nicknames like, fat boy, fat girl, fat man, are common in our tradition. And within my family, it's something that you point out, like, oh, hey, you're getting a little fat. Oh, hey, you're looking a little skinny, hey, you don't look so healthy right now, and so it's always been there. I feel like it's like, it's always been kind of in my peripherals, like, oh, maybe I do need to be healthier or skinnier, or, focus more on my weight loss or on eating healthier, whatever the case might be. And again, hearing those nicknames, gordo, gordito, like that wasn't used a lot, but enough so that it made an impact. But it wasn't until then, becoming an adult, once I had the liberty, to choose what I ate, choose when I go to sleep, and, I'm not living at home anymore.
Right.
It was then, I tried several diets. I tried going to the gym a few times. I tried P90X, P90X3, like all the stuff. And it was after going vegan that it was like, then it went up another notch, because then I was like, like this is feeling like I had more energy after going vegan. And I was like, I have like more energy. Like I want to do more now. Like I can go work out now, like I can go get this shit done.
Like that.
And I found myself a vegan trainer
at
any time. And he was really, really great for like information, gave me a lot of good resources. I think because of him is why I started following Nimai Delgado and John Venus way back then. And so it was cool. Yeah, it was really cool to kind of get that introduction. And I did group training with him. I didn't do personal one-on-one. I did group training. Right. But fortunately for me, the location was new. There wasn't that many people. So usually it was just one-on-one anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's like really what got me really into fitness. I learned a lot from him. And at the time, I'll be honest, I wasn't trying to learn. I was just trying to lose weight, and he would tell me like, oh yeah, your muscles are moving this way, and that's why you feel this, and that's why you feel that, and whatever. And I'd be like, cool, I'm just working out. Like,
Yeah, right,
I don't care,
right.
as long as
Yeah.
it gets the job done,
Right.
Whereas now, now it's more, obviously I want to know more, and yeah. That's I guess what got me started on fitness. I rambled on. I went a little bit everywhere here, but
No, I mean, I like that. I mean, what stood out to me the most from what you said is, I mean, there's a lot of things we can touch on. I mean, I think the main thing that stuck out to me was the idea of like, once you had more energy, then you started pursuing these other things, like the habits compound inevitably,
yeah,
and I think that's such a beautiful point, because like, how I was talking about like the first step, and how people kind of like overinflate what it is that they're going to do or try to do and all this stuff. I think that's kind of the secret right there, right? Is that when it comes to changing your life, and fitness is a great example. Like when it comes to improving your overall physical body, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to just kind of get a little bit healthier, improve your cardiovascular energy, or go all the way, lose a huge amount of weight, totally revolutionize your life and your habits, and just kind of what your living situation is in general. I think that when we imagine these things, it is kind of this behemoth of, I've got to, totally change my diet. I have to work out. I have to like stop hanging out with my friends at night, and stop playing games up until 12 a.m. and start like fixing my sleep schedule, and, vision boards, morning routines, evening routines, all these things. And the truth is that you don't have to do any of that stuff, right? Like it starts with one thing, and that's the shift in your mindset, that single decision that you made in, going vegan, for example, right? Just changing what you eat, which started with you kind of like just experimenting with a few recipes here and there, something that y'all watching this, you have to do anyway, right? Like you have to eat at some point, right? It doesn't have to be eating, right? You can start with working out, but the bottom line is that as you start one habit, right, as you incrementally shift your energy, and it's always the first habit that's going to yield the most results, because you're, assuming you're starting from square zero, right? But that single habit shift is going to lead to, an increase in energy, and that increase in energy is a new state of being, right? That's a new identity, right? That's not even you anymore, right? That's a different person. And so that person with more energy is more likely, with that increase in energy, going to have an increased desire to do even more, right? And then they're going to be able to do more and easily, right? And so then they get to like doing like 2 habits or 3 habits, like eating well, or eating semi well, right? Working out maybe just like 2 or 3 times a week, and then from there you have even more energy, right? And so the abundance grows, and the abundance leads to more abundance. And so I think a lot of the time that's just something that stuck out to me, because I'm like, you don't have to do all of it at one time and assume like that's it or nothing, right? Do the smallest thing, like, right now in your psyche, in your soul, what is the number one thing that you want to do? Just take the first step of that thing. Like, don't even do the thing to the full degree. Just do the first step, and the abundance grows. So I love that point, and you're like literally living proof of that. So,
yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, it's true. It's people focus on doing all of the things at once, and that's how you get that burnout. And then inevitably you feel like you fail, and then you feel like you have to start all over, and then it's just this whole cycle that you go through all over again. So
the yo-yo. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
there you go. And so what led you to go from improving your own health and kind of mastering these habits to lose weight and obviously build some muscle as well, now to running races and working out at crazy hours of the morning? You can tell people about that if you want to. I was going to ask you about that at some point, but what then kind of like led you to wanting to become a coach and start coaching other people?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a great question. I love this question. And you know me, I do tons of like self-reflection type of stuff. And so
Sure.
I'm always kind of thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I like to revisit sometimes the decisions that I've made in my life, and that this being one of them, right? I've always had a passion for helping others. Like as far back as I can remember. I've always had an interest in making deep connections with people and supporting people, encouraging them, finding any way that I could to help them and be there for them.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect, of course, right? Nobody is. And so, I still hold grudges against people. I still, like not always wanting to help everybody, but that's just that there's a passion for that. It's always been a passion for that. And so, going a little bit into my deeper into the story, my dad was a mechanic. Growing up, he owned his own business, and sometimes he would meet clients out in the middle of wherever they were stuck, and kind of fix up their cars. And I would always hang around with him. If I wasn't in school, I was at work with him. And so most of the time I would hang out and just go and pester the adults, because like one, I was a very curious kid. I just wanted to know about them and what they were doing. But two, they just couldn't deny me. I was a little kid. I had a cute smile, right? I was engaging, I was confident, and I was pretty fearless then. So they were like, yeah, sure, let's talk. Right. And so, yeah, it's that, I think, that passion for wanting to help people, wanting to find ways to improve their own lives, that was maybe the start of it. As after going vegan, working with that personal trainer, once he introduced me to Nimai Delgado, John Venus, and I started looking at how all these people were helping, hundreds of people lose weight, feel good about their health, go vegan, and all of these things. I was like, man, like that's it right there. Like I've been doing retail. I had been doing retail for 10 years.
Wow. Yeah.
That. I did picture framing with that. And it was then that I was like, this is it. Like, this is it for me. This is how I can help people. Because like, yeah, I could put a keepsake item in a picture frame, deliver it to someone, and then have them cry because they loved how good it turned out. But I'm not really changing their life. I'm just giving them something that they already had and making it look pretty, So this is when I discovered that, I was like, man, this is it for me. So within like a year or two of working with that coach is when I decided to sign up for courses with NASM.
Yep.
And
sure.
Got my certification through them. And yeah, it's
First
2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah,
look at that. And just as a side note, like, what would you say to somebody who is kind of on the edge of their seat with doing their, their day-to-day, kind of going through life, or maybe not, maybe like really totally mentally and emotionally struggling with, just managing their existence? I mean, it's not easy to make the decision to leave stability and pursue something that is not guaranteed, right? It requires a huge amount of passion. It requires a lot of courage. Like, what would you say to somebody who is, gearing themselves up to, take advantage of their next step and pursue their passion and go all in, but is kind of concerned about, just life, the universe, and everything?
Yeah. I think you touched on this a little bit, is take that first step, figure out what the simplest, easiest, like most, like basic first step that you can take is, and do that first.
Right.
And what I like to tell people is to celebrate it as well.
I like that,
because it's the first step. It doesn't matter if you don't have to run a race and get all your macros down on the first day and call that your first step. It could be, we've talked about this before, if you're wanting to run and do racing, like it could just be putting on your shoes and tying them on one morning, like your racing shoes, and be like, cool, I did that this morning. I didn't go out for my race, but I did that. And like, the more times you do that, like you said this before, the more times you do that, eventually you're just going to go out and do the run, because what's the point of getting dressed and getting ready for the run and not doing it?
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, just whatever that first step is, like the most basic step, find that step, take it, and then celebrate.
Right.
Be like, heck yeah, I did that. And then make a plan to do it again the next day.
Boom. Love that.
Make a little adjustment if you need to,
Heck yeah. That's super cool.
Keep it going from there.
Yeah. And I would add, like, imagine it, I think we don't leverage I think, for those of us that are, whatever it is, like law of attraction, energy understanding kind of, or, energy wanting to understand kind of people. There's all this stuff about imagining like the big things, like the multi, whatever it is you want to be, like a billionaire, or, have a, crazy house, or live somewhere awesome, or, be whatever it is, right? Like imagining the huge things. When was the last time like you imagined, and this is kind of like rhetorical for people watching, is like, or listening, when is the last time you imagined the next step, right? The thing that you want to accomplish, like being consistent and going for those morning runs. What are you imagining? Is your mental conversation one of, hey, I know that I can experience this? Or is it one of like, coming up with every single resistant factor as to why, and then ultimately that culminates to you just not going? 5 months go by, you still have this goal, but you haven't even executed on one run. Well, it's because of that conversation, right? So yeah, I really like that. I mean, the first single piece of whatever it is that you want to do. And the other thing is, like, I might start some, more business related conversations, whatever it is, at some point eventually. But I think there is this culture of like, it's all or nothing. Like you either quit your job and go full-fledged into your your whatever, your like Pikachu carpet making business, or you're just like, or just don't you even dare make a single Pikachu carpet because you're not worth it. And I think the first step is also like that. I like the antithesis of that, which is like, keep doing what you're doing, but make a few Pikachu carpets, like,
yeah.
If that's what you want to do, are you currently making the carpets? Have you never made a single carpet, right? Like there is like this ethos of like, you have to go crazy hard and you have to succeed at 14 years old, or, you're just, it's just over for you. Right. And
Yeah.
the truth is that, in like 30 days, right? Like $0 to $50,000 a month in, 30 days. And the truth is that, most entrepreneurs like don't succeed until like 15 years, right? Like there's like 15 years of trial and error before they even have like some semblance of success. And I'm not saying it has to take that long, but I am saying that if you approach it with that mentality, right, of like, this is going to take a damn long time, and like, this is something I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. I'm not jumping into this to like retire myself after 1 year of effort. I'm not doing this to like retire my family after 1 year of effort. If that's your mindset, like you're screwed. And I think social media has done that to us, of like, especially TikTok. Like I've been on TikTok a lot recently, kind of just trying to understand it. I think that's a good medium for, the stuff that I do. But, like anything, you get caught in this scrolling, processing. You're just like seeing these like 18-year-old white kids, like crypto billionaires, just boom, boom, boom. And it jades you, right? Because you're like, it's got to happen extremely fast. The degree of financial, provision has got to be super high, right? And there's got to be this subsequent like social clout that comes with it. And yeah, I mean, I haven't been in the game for too terribly long. I've been like hardcore pursuing entrepreneurship for 7 years. And in that time, I will say, I have seen a lot of people come in and crash out, because that's the idea that they have, is like, it's got to be fast. It's got to be giant. And it's just not the case. The average entrepreneur doesn't have much semblance of success until, like 15 to 20 years after they start. And it's slow going, it's slow going from there. But those are the people that ultimately win really big, right? Is that if you take the slow approach, if you say, it's about learning the skills, it's about, taking action faster and faster each time. And it's not about going all in, it's about iterating. And, if you have safety nets, I know that 40 hours can be hard to put your entrepreneurship time into, right? Especially if you have family and other obligations as well. But I'm telling you, start out with those couple hours a week, right? Use those 3 hours a week, right? And do the best that you can, because the times that I have also been working other jobs, right, and like trying this stuff, those are the times that I've been the most successful, frankly, right? Because I have this time to like sit there and work for somebody else where I'm thinking about all the things that I want to do. And then when I do finally have time to work, I am focused, I'm motivated, I'm really passionate, and that's powerful stuff. So just kind of a little side note. And I wanted to get your insight on that as well. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. That was pretty good. And it made me think of kind of what it means to like live your OG life, what I talk about.
Yeah.
Because I actually had that kind of a little bit about what you said in that, in my explanation of that. Because like my goal, like in helping my clients, isn't for them just to lose weight or to get in shape in the next 90 days, 120 days, whatever it is that they want. Because then, kind of like we talked about, they get there or they do all these things, they burn out. You're gonna go back.
Right.
You can't just do it for 3 months, stop, and then expect it to last the rest of your life.
Right.
It's not the case, and so with living your OG life, right? I say that, if you don't want to be skinny, then don't be skinny, but you still need to incorporate movement into your routine, right? If you don't want to experience pain daily, if you don't want to injure yourself, right? If you want to keep moving, right? You don't want to be on a diet, that's great. Like I don't like diets, right? Being vegan isn't a diet, know?
Right.
And so, let's learn to instead fuel our bodies with, the right nutrients and the right foods so that you aren't getting sick, so that you avoid some chronic diseases, and so that you feel good, right? You don't have to do a diet. You don't have to be skinny, like when you hear like, oh, you have to do this to get this result, like who are the people that are telling you that, and did they do that specifically? Yeah, cool. That might've worked for them. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're going to put in the same amount of effort, that they did. You might give it 100, but they might have actually given it 110, they might have just given it an extra push. They might have worked on Sundays. You chose to get Sundays off, right? There's all these, there's too many variables to just go out there and pick anything and just expect it to work for you. And be quick,
I love that.
So that's I guess that's what it means for me to kind of like live your OG life too. Just live your life. Don't live by any other person's expectations of what you should be doing. Just do it for yourself. Do what makes you feel good, and keep incorporating those things into your routine, remain consistent with them.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's like, it's rooted in confidence. Cause I think that, it's scary to live your OG life. It's scary to, take the path that has never been, treaded, but that's okay. Cause it's yours. Right. And it's, if you can believe it, it's true that there are literally infinite ways of doing anything. Right. Like, when it comes to weight loss, there's infinite ways to lose weight. When it comes to, gaining muscle or improving your endurance, like infinite ways to do this. And so I think that we get, again, it comes back to like this social pressure culture that we're in of, constantly watching these people who are, the idealized, people. And it's like, man, they're doing it this way. So that must be the way to do it. They're saying that it has to be done this way. So that's got to be the case. But that really screws you over because it's just consistency, right? It's just consistency and the willingness to reflect and optimize from that reflection. But you will find that you can do things your way. You just gotta remain, right? You have to remain faithful to the vision. So I like that. I guess like now it's really starting to click, right? The meaning of this OG life thing. And I'm like, that's the coolest. That's damn near the coolest thing ever. So
thank you.
Heck yeah. And so would you tell us like a little bit about your process? Like when it comes to, a person, comes to you and they're like, David, I'm really trying to level up, whatever it is, like I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. I'm trying to get in better health, just improve my energy. I'm ready for this transformation. What does the process kind of look like, when they go through this process with you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first things first, anybody coming up to me on that, like, I'm not going to immediately go into like, okay, cool, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
we have to make sure that, we're both willing to invest in each other.
Sure.
And so the first kind of interaction that I have with people is just knowing where they're at, what they've tried, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, why they chose to even reach out to me, and like what about me do you think could help you? How can I show up and help you?
Right.
And once we get those kind of things down, that's the process, is just figuring out what tools we can implement, what habits we can implement into your schedule. So if working out is something that's of interest to you, like I build the workouts for my clients, and it's available in their app right away. They can just, it's basically like, we choose the days. You want to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, cool. Your workouts are there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You choose at what time. We'll check in if we need to, basically. Boom. Right? Boom. Nutrition, like same things, just tracking. I do not like to put pressure on like diets or macros. That it can be overwhelming, especially for people at the very beginning of their journey.
Yep.
It's a lot to think about, a lot to track. And in the beginning, I think it's just easier to just focus on the foods, the nutrients, the visuals.
Right.
Like, okay, what do I see on my plate, and how can I make it look better? And make switches there, to my plate.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then mindset habits. So journaling, is something that I like to incorporate. There was a time that I would send one of my clients specifically, she liked that I would send her like a weekly journal entry, and so that helps, find ways or find things to be grateful for, on a daily or weekly basis.
Yep.
Meditations is something that I've now incorporated more into my program that I didn't have before. I talked about it a little bit, but now I actually have some resources for people to look at as well. Okay. A couple of your own meditations are on there, like on my YouTube playlist.
Nice.
So that's kind of what it's all about. Just how can we incorporate these healthy habits into your life now without overwhelming you, without making you feel like you're having to sacrifice everything and just living this miserable life of dieting and, whatever it is.
Right.
So, yeah.
Heck yeah. I love that. Sweet. Yeah. Thank you for kind of breaking that down. And, I really like that you're like, no, we don't just jump in. Right. I think one of the things that I hear from people all the time when they, I ask them the same question, why did you choose to, come to me and to Vegan Strong Fit to pursue this kind of transformation? And they're like, well, you're very personal, right? Like you didn't just lay out like, here's how it's going to be, right? You asked me all of these questions about what I want to do and like how I'm, what I've tried in the past and, what I really feel like is going to work for me and what do I want, what kind of process do I want? And I think that's pretty revolutionary because the coaching relationship is just that. It's a relationship, right? It's not this like I sit up here and dictate, to you what to do and you just do it. The majority of human beings, well, especially Americans, like have a very unhealthy relationship with food, right? The majority have a very unhealthy relationship with their bodies, right? And so to jump into a program and to just immediately start hearing, shift everything about what you eat, start tracking all these macros, like make sure that you always stay below this number or above this number. That doesn't work. I'll just flat out say that it doesn't work. And it often, it's insane. I actually had somebody, on a consultation one time with me and they essentially just told me, I'm coach shopping. But they'd actually already signed up for another coach and they, on the phone with me, they were like, crying basically because they were like, man, just the way that you talk about these things, the way that you explain these things, and the way that you ask me, what's going to work and what do I want and all these things. I'm really concerned because I idolized this fitness influencer that I saw on Instagram, but, she didn't ask me any of this stuff. She laid out for me this plan and I was like, wow, if I were able to adopt these habits, it would be really transformational. The bottom line is 6 months go by and, she came back to me and basically told me like, it was really extremely just emotionally draining, right? Because it was like I was in school for something that was more demanding on the change of my individual character than school ever was, right? But
Yeah.
it compounded just like school. And so as time went on, not only was it was damn near impossible for me to adopt these habits, but I didn't have any kind of support. I really just had a person that was checking in with me and pointing out that I wasn't making any progress. And as time was going on, I was, further and further away from the goal that I had created. And I was like, that's heartbreaking, right? Like that's, it's your time, your energy, your money, all were essentially just thrown away because, you bought into this idea of, I'm going to be able to revolutionize my habits simply because a person is handing me plans.
Mm-hmm.
You and a lot of other people will probably vouch for the fact that we don't build plans for a while in my programs, right?
Yeah.
Like the plans come after a lot of time because it's the mindset shifting first, right? It's the really getting super clear on the why, right? On the what, on what's the how that's going to work for you. And it's because I've talked to so many people that go through these crazy, well, not crazy, they go through these coaching programs, and there's no like human to human element, and like I don't even get like how is that gonna work.
Yeah.
And I do my process is because I don't believe that works at all. So
Yeah, man. That's why, and that's the reason that your profile stood out so much to me and was so easy to decide on you without even talking to the other coaches, because just seeing what their feeds were like, I could already see like they were going to hop on that call and it would have been like any other discovery call where it's like, cool, how can I get you to give me your money so that we can get started?
right,
That's
right,
the goal,
right.
And it's yeah, I already have these things I can just give you, just give me your money already.
Right.
And there's it's not personable, you're not building that connection, that relationship.
Exactly.
Whereas with you, that comes through immediately just in your videos without even having to talk to you, And so that was like, well, this guy, like, I can tell like he's legit. And that's why I always tell you, like, you're up there with the other vegan influencers, like in my eyes, because of that difference, because you're out there and really talking to people, really kind of getting to know their problems and figuring out how to solve them, rather than just like, I already have the solution, just pay me for it here,
Right.
So it's pretty awesome. It's a great way to do things for sure.
Heck yeah. And I'm glad, and I hope that is, moved in and influenced you and your, the way that you construct your programs. And I know it has, in speaking to some of your clients as well. And so, yeah, no, I really appreciate that feedback. And, just overall, you're going to achieve really big things. And I think that we are kind of trying to bring about this, mindset revolution of like, you, the viewer, the listener, the Zach, the David, the whoever, right? You possess everything that you need to become, to do, to have anything that you desire. And it really is just about shifting your perspective and allowing yourself, right? Giving yourself that permission. So boom.
Heck yeah, man.
Live your OG life. Live your OG life, baby.
There you go.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you, David, and I really appreciate you, coming on and chatting with me. And for all of you watching and listening, I highly encourage you to go check out David's stuff on Instagram at coachd.og. I think, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, sweet. And yeah, go check them out. And I think you have other links there to your website and to your other videos and all of your content and whatnot. And yeah, highly recommend if you're ready for this journey, shoot David a message. I mean, David's got the tools. David has the character and the demeanor more than anything, right? I think that's so important in the coaching relationship. And so if you're really ready for long-term transformational change, find somebody that's going to care about you, right? That's going to be your imperative. And so you got two people here showing up for you in that way.
Okay.
David, any last words, any final, any kudos to the listeners or anything?
Man, just get out there and do your best. And in those moments when you're telling yourself like, I can't do this, I'm too tired, I'm too frustrated, this is too much. In those moments, just acknowledge the fact that you are what you're saying, that it is negative. Let's say that it is, limiting in some way, and change it for yourself.
Love it.
You have that same power to go and change that wording from like, I don't have the time to, no, screw this. I do have the time. I'm too tired today. No, screw this. I have just enough energy to get this other stuff done. Boom. Like you can talk yourself into anything. So that's maybe the last thing you got to say to people.
Heck yeah. Love it. Sweet. Well, cool. Well, thank you for coming on. Everybody go check David's stuff out. I'm going to put their links in the description wherever you're watching this. And until next time, much love. Well, there you have it, my friends. Another episode in the books. Live authentically, live abundantly, live your OG life. If you'd like to learn more from David, you can follow them on Instagram by searching coachd.og. If you'd like to follow Vegan StrongFit, just search vegan_strongfit. And if you're interested in leveling up your mind and transforming your body, feel free to shoot us a message or check us out at veganstrongfit.com. Stay strong, my friends. Take it easy.